So in the last video, I laid out the blueprint for what I believe self-improvement to mean and what one should expect on a journey to improving oneself and to building a stronger foundation to obtain your goals, whatever they may be. There's a lot of self-improvement content on the internet, and you often see like the drop shipping entrepreneur guy getting up at 5 a.m. and he's got this whole worked out morning routine, and he goes to Miami and Dubai and all this. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm making this multi-part series, little mini series, laying out generally just my personal guidelines for what constitutes a good life or a good living day to day. Or essentially why I feel so good all the time. And in the last video, like I said, we laid out generally what self-improvement is, what it means to struggle against your old habits, and clarifying that to improve oneself, it is supposed to be a struggle. It's not supposed to come easy. But in this video, I want to start getting into the meat and potatoes of what I consider to build up a good life, or at least why I feel so good all the time. And the first thing I must talk about is general physical activity. For me, this comes in the form of lifting, in which I started about 6 years ago. Since I started, as far as I can recall, I've never taken more than 2 weeks off at a time, like extended. And beginning to lift proved to be one of the most impactful decisions that I've ever made, so far, at least. For starters, I mean, there's a certain level of discipline within me just from attending the gym consistently day after day. And it's one thing to go to the gym and exert yourself and be prepared. You know, you've hydrated, you've ate your carbs, you're feeling good. It's another thing to go to the gym and not be in the mood to go to the gym. It's another thing to go to the gym, show up, exert yourself, but you were dreading the anticipation of going to the gym. That's a completely different ballgame, and it can throw off your lift. But it's that sort of discipline by pushing yourself and showing up even when you don't want to. There we're facing resistance, wrestling with it, and overcoming it. And that in of itself is growth. But every time you win out in instances like that, whether it be something like going to the gym or some other personal battle, you're building more and more discipline. Each time you beat those negative thoughts, each time you beat those thoughts that are holding you back. And apart from the discipline, of course, physical activity is just incredibly beneficial, not only for your physical, obviously, but for emotional regulation insofar as stress maintenance and mental health is concerned. And this is especially true if you can be active in the morning. Now, ironically, I don't lift in the morning. I have in the past, I have on a few occasions, and it's always been a great experience. I highly recommend it. But right now I'm generally lifting around noon, just sort of when I'm going. But one thing I have been doing is, as soon as I get out of bed, I'll go straight into a stretch routine, or I'll bust out a set of push-ups till failure, maybe hold a plank, and it's just that immediate physical activity. It sets the tone for your day, and sets the tone for your morning especially. Gets the blood flowing, gets you sort of energized, and clears out the grog. And, I mean, it might sound kind of rudimentary to say this, but it just sort of starts you off on a productive basis for your day. And I'm not one of those who thinks that every day has to be optimized for productivity. I actually want to talk about that later because college made me into a productivity horse, and I couldn't stand it. I mean, I got it done and I was very productive, but I didn't like always focusing on my productivity. But I mean, that's a whole different topic. We're not trying to get into that. In general, having physical activity in your life and being active at least a few times a week, in my experience, just has been so incredible for my mental health and my emotional regulation. Because when you exert yourself, not only, I mean, I haven't done a deep dive into the science behind it. I know it works, you know, but I'm not here dropping scientific studies. But the stress release from exerting yourself is real, and it takes your mind off of whatever's plaguing you, and the whole self-exertion or physical exertion, I think, does relieve some of that pent-up stress, because instead of focusing on your stressors and thinking about your stressors, you are completing something, you're achieving something demanding of you, and you leave the gym or a run feeling accomplished. And over time, as you become more physically fit, I think it goes hand in hand, physical fitness and general mental health, which obviously that's not entirely the case, but I think there is some level of correlation there. You know, if you feel good physically, that may translate into feeling good mentally and emotionally. And leading into my next point, though, the morning overall. So we discussed just briefly of starting off your morning with the right tone by getting a little active. And in my experience, the mornings are the most important part of your day. And every morning, you're afforded the opportunity to decide how to set the tone for the day, which is so special. So what you do right when you wake up is a crucial part, in my opinion, of building better habits. And it's critical for self-growth. Self-growth. Good. I can never run that one out on the first try. But a couple of years back, I used to wake up, freshly awake, first thing, eyes still crusted over, and I would immediately hop on IG or TikTok and scroll for maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And this would leave me eventually crawling out of bed, just so tired. And I would already be emotionally drained from the sheer variety of content I consumed, and it just felt horrible. I mean, that's no way to start your day. If any of what I just said resonates with you and you feel called out, that's sort of intentional here. I've long since put this to the side, and other than lifting, I think this has been probably the most positive change I've made in my life in recent years. Now, I don't think it's entirely necessary for every morning to be entirely optimized or planned out, but for a few weeks last semester, a couple of buddies and I would get up about 5 a.m. and go run a mile. I mean, but it was much more than just running the mile. Specifically me, at least, I would get up around 4:40. I'd say my morning prayers, I'd hydrate, I'd stretch. Then my guy JP would pick me up, actually the GOAT, by the way. And we would meet our other buddy Aiden, also a GOAT, by the way. And we'd run. Sometimes, you know, I mean, Aiden would move, but, you know, no shade Aiden. And when I got back, I'd shower, I'd run a load of laundry, and I'd read or I'd crunch out some schoolwork for a bit. And I know I said you don't need to have your mornings optimized, but these mornings were so productive. And despite getting up at 4:40 instead of my regular 6:05, which is still early, but that's been the normal time for me for a while, so that's what I'm used to, I would still always feel so good throughout the day. And man, it was so peak, and we didn't do it for too long due to various injuries and school crunching down on us. But without fail, the morning runs always set the tone. And I don't think I ever had a bad day following one of these runs. Now when I get out of bed, no longer in college, back home for summer, I get out of bed, I say my morning prayers, and like I said, I might hit a push-up set or a plank. Then I read for a little while everything's still quiet. But no matter what I do, I try not to even check my phone for about an hour after waking up. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, but I like to aim for an hour. Whatever notifications are ruminating there, they can wait a little bit longer. They're not going anywhere. That's something that I've really tried to reinforce, because sometimes you get up and you immediately check your phone, and your notifications on that little phone set the tone for you. Instead of you setting the tone for yourself, it's some notifications saying, "Look at me." And I don't think that's good for the brain. And it's so nice. If there's one thing you take away from this video, let it be this point. Your day starts in the morning. So how you spend your mornings can and sometimes will have drastic effects on how the rest of the day plays out. But with this point, I want to couple in sleep. Go to bed at the same time every night, wake up at the same time every morning. Do this for a couple of weeks. And I would say thank me later, but you can just thank me by trying it. If possible, you should be sleeping in a cold room, warm bed. Try to reduce blue light for about 30 minutes to an hour before bed. Generally, I like to read or meditate or pray. For me, it's praying, but you know, if that's not your thing, you can meditate. Whatever your cup of tea may be. Some sort of pre-sleep routine really does help signal to your brain when to start producing that sweet, sweet melatonin. And also try to reduce any melatonin supplements you're using. If you use them too long, you sort of become dependent on them. And the key here is routine. That's the key word. Meditating once before bed may help, but meditating every night for a couple weeks, that's where you'll start to see some serious sleep quality increase. I will say now, formulating and sticking to a morning and nighttime routine are not easy, but let me reiterate, and this is the pivotal point of this whole miniseries. None of this is supposed to be easy. I will stand by that. All of these are simple ways to change your life. However, properly adhering to them, that will be hard. And that will require you to struggle and conform against, struggle against comfort and against your old ways. This is a topic that I'm going to dedicate probably a whole other video to later down the line, but getting sunlight as well, and in general spending time outside, also incredibly beneficial, not only for your physical health, but your mental and emotional state as well. And if you can start your mornings outside, even if that's just going out with your dogs or going out on the back porch. Like this morning, I hopped right up out of bed. You know, I did my little morning shindig, and then I picked up Lonesome Dove, the novel I've been reading. Went and took the dogs out. I went and sat out on the porch for about 30 minutes, read a chapter or two. It's good, man. It was nice. I felt great. It was nice to be out there, breathing in that fresh air early in the morning. Birds were chirping, it was nice and cool out. Man, I mean, it's just, that's a key point for good living. We were meant to be outdoors, in my opinion. And oftentimes, in our modern society, with all the bustle of daily life, sometimes, unfortunately, many people struggle to get outside, or to spend any time outside at all. And some of that, I think, is societally based. Some of that is, I think, infringed upon us by society. I mean, people work indoors all day, and then they get home and they want to sit indoors for the rest of the day. They've got unlimited entertainment at the tip of their fingers. And I think we've lost a natural affinity for getting outdoors for the sake of getting outdoors. And I think there's a correlation between time spent outdoors and general mental well-being. Dedicated 30 minutes a day keeps the doctor away. But, as with all of this, don't overcomplicate it. And don't think you have to adhere to anything explicitly that I'm saying. This is just a blueprint. Like I said in the first video of this little series, my methods work for me, but they're not one size fits all. None of this, none of this may work for you, but hopefully it can inspire you to come up with your own methods and ways that would benefit you in achieving your own goals and improving your character. But that's all I got for this video. Like I said, I wanted to keep these sort of nice and digestible, not too long. In the next video, we'll discuss content consumption and media intake and general community. And yeah, now that you're stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this helped. And until next time, take care.